miraculously, they let us across the border. So, and so we got into this border town, and there was just one hotel, and it was very seedy. And this little town, they didn't have a sewage system, so all of the sewage was just in the unpaved dirt roads. So it was like a medieval kind of sanitation situation where people were just dumping their, out in the street. And we checked into this hotel and we had some soup, which was a mistake. And later that night, we were in our room, and at night, the rats came out. And the rats were coming out these little holes in our room and scurrying all around the room. And so I was like plugging up the holes where the rats were coming out. And then the rats would come out, and then they would not be able to get into the hole that they were expecting to, and they'd panic. And then the rats were like running all over the bed. And then we got really, really sick, like bad dysentery. And we had to go out downstairs and across the sewage dirt road into this little outhouse. And the Tibetans were very small, so the outhouse was very tiny, it was very narrow, and it was a toilet paper-free outhouse. And the technique for wiping was, no joke, wipe and then put it on the wall. I couldn't fit in there without touching my shoulders to the wall. And we had to go to the bathroom a lot. And we were so sick that we couldn't leave. We were there for like 3 days with like rats and shit shoulders. It was the worst experience imaginable. So gross. Yeah, that was fun. It was worth almost getting shot at the border for it. So there's a travel disaster story for you. Thanks for asking.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi, Misha. My name is Crystal. I've participated in Gish the last 3 years.
Excellent. How did it go for you?
It's been crazy fun.
Good. Glad to hear that, but not traumatizing?
A little bit, but it's helped me pride my grace.
Okay, good. Every year, 1 or 2 people get arrested or court-martialed or something like that.
It hasn't happened yet.
It has happened, but not to you. That's good.
My question for you is, what are some traits about Castiel that you like, and then what are some traits about Castiel that you wish you would improve upon?
What are things that I like about Castiel? Well, one thing I like about Castiel is that he genuinely always tries to do his best and what he thinks is right. And I feel like I always know that's true for him, and I think the audience does too. I think we all know that even though he's making a lot of mistakes along the way, he's really always trying to do the right thing and genuinely cares about that. I think that he has been too full of self-loathing for too long. It's something I don't like about Cass. I wish that he would somehow cut himself a break at some point, but he always, I don't know, it's funny, and I don't know how that really evolved in his character. It wasn't there when he first appeared, but as he acclimated to humanity and got to know humans, his own feeling of self-worth seemed to erode, and he's been unable to forgive himself for his mistakes over time. So that's a bad quality. Shame on him for that. Thanks.
Thank you.
I like the idea of shaming somebody for being hard on themselves. Hi.
Hi. My question is, what's the most emotional scene you had to shoot in Supernatural?
I think the most emotional scene that I remember shooting was when Jimmy Novak came back from the dead to say goodbye. It was weirdly very emotional for me. That's it.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Meg.
Hi.
Hi, okay. I was wondering, I'm
And I really like your work with her for Random Acts, and just other stuff for like getting people to vote. And I was wondering what your favorite memory with her is.
Well, I can't tell you that. Yeah, I don't think, I mean, if Jared had ever found out, I don't think that would go well. Oh, an appropriate memory? Oh, sorry, I thought you said favorite memory.
Favorite appropriate one.
Well, I can tell you this. I have been, now, Daniil and Genevieve are both board members of Random Acts. I think that when Random Acts started, I wasn't sure it was going to work. I don't think that my castmates thought it was going to work. I think we were all just like, well, that's kind of a crazy thing to try to start. Good luck with that. But over time, it's been really nice for all of us to see, oh my God, this thing is actually working, and we're actually doing some stuff with this, and having the cast fold in and be supportive and be active participants in it has been one of the most rewarding aspects for me. It's just been really cool seeing how Jen and Daniil and Jared and Jensen and these yahoos have, over time been involved in different things. It's been just really super cool and very gratifying. I think we got probably all of us, the 6 of us, the husbands and wives, we were in Barcelona. This is a memory. And I think we may have collectively been the drunkest we ever were. Barcelona, you can't even sit down for dinner until 10 o'clock. The restaurants aren't even open before that. And everyone stays up on weekend nights all night long. And we just weren't. Actually, Vicky was the only one that weathered the storm pretty well because she was, I think, 8 months pregnant at the time, so not drinking that heavily. And nonetheless, she was up with all of us until 6 a.m. And it was very painful. And then later I discovered that Barcelona is one of the few places in the world where you can measure ambient cocaine in the air on the streets. Isn't that amazing? People are doing that much cocaine in Barcelona, which explains why everyone is up and alert all night long. I don't think they work, no. I think that there's some weird trust fund for everybody that lives in Barcelona and they're just taken care of.
Note to self, move to Barcelona. Insane.
So, I take it by your presence here on stage that we're drawing to the end of this.
Oh, we missed you.
No, we're just big fans.
Really close to you.
Do we have time for one more question?
Yes, we do. Take a question.
Hi, last question.
Hi, I was wondering what's the dumbest injury you've gotten while filming?
Dumbest injury?
Yeah.
Have you gotten a lot of injuries while filming? You get hurt a lot. You stand still in a trench coat.
You know what? I don't remember being badly hurt.
There was a scene one time where you almost got run over by a car.
Richard was directing.
Rich tried to kill him.
Richard was directing, and there was a scene. By the way, just a miserable night. It was cold. It was rainy. We were shooting outside. The mud was knee deep. I mean, it was really awful. It was an awful night of shooting. And anyway, slick dirt road, muddy as hell, and the idea is a truck comes barreling along the road and almost hits me, but I just barely get out of the way by diving into the mud. Right? Crawling. I'm crawling away in the mud, right? That's right, because you wanted me crawling on my belly in the mud. So, not the script. Rich is like, you know what? It's raining, it's muddy, it's very cold. Why don't you get down in the mud?
In the script, it was clean, sun was out.
Well, that's only open, right? Yeah, Vancouver. What are you gonna do?
So he announces to everyone, Misha, I just want you to know there's not a chance in hell, there's not a version of my reality in which I would have the truck drive by with you actually crawling right there in this slick, muddy situation. I said, great, thanks. He's like, all right, we're gonna set up the shot. Go back to your trailer. So I go back to my trailer, they set up the lights, come back about 15 minutes later. He said, all right, so here's the deal. You're gonna be crawling right there in the deepest mud on the edge. And we are gonna have the pickup truck come by and just graze you.
I would love to leap in and say, no, that's not how it happened. Except that's exactly how it happened. I literally did say, there's not a version in which we would ever have you and the truck in the shot at the same time. That's simply not going to happen, not on my watch. And on my watch, I made sure that the opposite was true.
But miraculously, I was not injured. I mean, I think it probably ultimately hurt our friendship, but
That was hanging by a thread to start with.
yeah. I've had a couple of times where I did a movie many years ago in Maine where, it's the same movie that I was talking about at the beginning of this panel, where they had this, I was a lobsterman, and I had this beautiful, my character had this beautiful antique wooden boat, and there was a scene where I was talking to somebody on shore, but in the boat, and they had a guy from the Coast Guard come, and he was going to be like secretly driving the boat, and I was going to be pretending to be driving the boat. And I was like, guys, this is ridiculous. I can drive the boat. I'd never driven a boat before, but I was like, how hard can it be? And long story short, I grounded the antique, beautiful, very valuable antique boat on some rocks and caused about $50,000 worth of damage. And then shortly after that, I was playing a role of Alexis Drazen on 24, and same deal. It was my character's introduction sequence, and I had this beautiful Jaguar, and I was in a warehouse, and I had to drive down this ramp out of the warehouse. And the idea was they're going to go close-up of me behind the wheel, and then get a stunt driver in there to drive it down the ramp, because it was a very narrow ramp. And I was like, guys, it's me. You don't need the stunt driver, it's fine. And I miscalculated a little bit and ripped the entire undercarriage of the car out, like left the entire exhaust system sitting on the ground. And it was my first day of shooting. Anyway, so good night, everybody.